the clubs. So, thank you for coming to Newcastle. I always find when I'm interviewing actors with your portfolio, should we say, where do I start, what do I talk about, because there's so much. I'd like to throw in about a quarter of an hour, I'm going to throw the floor open to questions for the fans out there. But I want to take you back a little bit. I always like to know a little bit about, I know you like to do your backstory with characters and stuff, but what's your backstory of how you wanted to be an actor? I know you trained with RADA and obviously you worked with the RSC. Where did it all begin for you?
So yeah, I'm from Liverpool originally, and yeah, I think, my main thing was I was the youngest of 4 kids. My 3 elder siblings were quite academic, and I wasn't. And then when I was about 8, I did a play at school. I did The Wizard of Oz, and I played the Scarecrow. Yeah, and I got on stage for that. And I remember going, oh, I like this feeling. There's something I can do. I wanted to. I knew that academia wasn't going to be my thing. I also sadly knew that sport wasn't going to be my thing. I loved football and playing, but I knew that I was never going to be anywhere near being able to make it a profession. But when I got on stage, it gave me that same feeling that I'd had playing football or whatever, that, I could do this. And from then on, I pursued it. When I that was in my junior school. When we went into senior school, they didn't do any art or drama or anything like that. So I found a youth theatre, and I went to a youth theatre in Liverpool, which was attached to the main theatre there, the Everyman Theatre. And they were brilliant. That was where I found my tribe. And from there I was cast in a drama that Channel 4 was doing called One Summer, which was about 2 Scouse lads who ran away to Wales, written by Willie Russell. And weirdly, we were just talking about it, the whole thing was directed by Jason Fleming's dad. Gordon Fleming, he directed it, so he gave me my first job. And then I was flying, then I went to drama school, and then that was it really.
Wow, I've been diverted for the fact that Negan's standing over there.
Yeah.
Is that not the best celebrity lookalike you've ever seen at a Comic-Con? I keep having to look twice at the guys, it's ridiculously like him. So of course you come forward you work with the National Theatre as well, and the RSC. Is that where you think you really started to learn your trade?
Yeah, what was really interesting for me was I did One Summer. And in this One Summer was an older actor, older than me anyway, called James Hazeldine. And he'd come from Salford, but he'd gone to the RSC and he'd gone to the National Theatre, and he was a classical actor as well as a television actor. And he just said to me, look, if you want a career, if you want to be in this job for a long time, start in the theatre. That'll give you all the training. And so I went to RADA. When I left RADA, I went to the Royal Shakespeare Company. Then I went to the National Theatre. Then I did some West End stuff. And I did that for about the first, probably 6 years of my acting life, was in the theatre. And then slowly I was able to break into television and film. But that background of theatre was really essential for me. That gave me a life, it was like it was an apprenticeship, really. It told me how to do my job, and then that meant that I could become a working actor as opposed to a celebrity or somebody who's only doing one role. I could do a variety of roles, and that's given me the longevity that I've craved.
And there's no pause button or record button on a live show, is there?
No, there's not. No, sometimes you wish there was, but there's not.
Yeah. It's a good grounding. I always say to young actors, that's what I've worked with. You ever want to get into theatre, do youth theatre, but also try and do stuff where you learn your lines and you do it in front of the people.
Yeah, there's no hiding place, I think. I think the one thing about theatre is, you've got to be on your toes. It's a live audience. You've got to learn your lines. You've got to have the craft to be able to do it. And even now, I love going to see theatre. I go to theatre a lot. And I always get a buzz from it. I really when it's good, there's nothing better. You know, that's my main thing. So
I'm going to talk about theatre a bit later on Inside Number 9 because I've worked on that show just recently at the Sun and Empire, and we'll talk about it. I've not seen Inside Number 9. It's an amazing show. It's an amazing show. Comedy genius, really.
Yeah.
I'd just like to talk about, you know, how you prepare for a role. I know a lot of young actors come here, a lot of people will be watching this. How you prepare for that role, how you learn your lines, how you go into the backstory and developing the character from the narrative.
So, learning your lines is just graft. It's just hard graft. Some people have a capacity for it, some people don't. What I do is I will take it, you know, if I'm in the theatre, I'll learn my lines before I go to the rehearsal, so that I know my lines before I get to the rehearsal room. And that's just drilling and drilling and drilling and drilling. Sometimes I'll get a mate of mine to go through it with me, and I'll just, you know, I will work at it like, you know, on an hourly basis. I'll work and then I'll leave it alone for a bit and then I'll go back. And it's really dispiriting, but it's just graft. The rest of it is to do with different people have different ways of working. You've got to find your way. I like to work on backstory, so I like to sort of think about where my character comes from, what his relationship with his parents and his siblings was like, what his schooling was like, what his financial background was like, the hardship or not, you know, they're the type of things. And that, I will write that out. Nobody else gets to see that, but I know what it is. And then there's other things I do, like I will create a playlist for my characters. So whatever job I'm in, I'll create 2 playlists. One which will be the type of music I think that person would listen to, the type of music that they relax to, rock out to, so all that. And then the other playlist will be a playlist of music that will get me in and out of moods that I need in the journey of the stuff. So, you know, if I need some bangers to get me up and energetic, then I'll have them on. If I need some moody music that'll get me more melancholic and a bit more sort of upset, then I'll have that music. And I have those 2 different playlists. And that helps me when I'm working on set. I'll just plug in and I can get into, music is something that gets me into a mood quite quickly. So that's when I'll have those playlists. But there's other things, you know, mostly it's all about the writing, but it's backstory for me. Sometimes I use photographs or pictures that will evoke a certain thing for me. But yeah, I've got great mates of mine who are brilliant, brilliant actors who literally turn up and do it. They turn up, they'll have read it, but they turn up, they just walk on and they're brilliant. I've learned that I'm not like that. I need to have some sort of road map above and beyond the script that gives me a way of in. Because there's your script, but then there's your schedule, your shooting schedule. And they're quite, so sometimes, like I'm just doing a job at the moment, and the first 2 weeks of filming was the last half hour of the 6 episodes we're doing. So I had to do the end first. So you have to sort of work out where you are in the story before you even sometimes know where the character is or who the character is. So that's really weird. I hate doing that, but it's always dependent on location, really.
I mean, as most actors with your career, you've obviously gone through that journey of working with other great actors as well.
Yeah.
Bill Nye, obviously David Tennant as well. What about coming into that franchise of Doctor Who, you know, what, 17 years ago or so, and how that was? We have great crowds here for Doctor Who every year because there's so many fans. What was it like coming into that franchise?
So, you know, I told you before, I'm working with Russell T Davies at the moment. I'm shooting something for him. You know, he's such a great man. I mean, he's like a brilliant writer. He's, you know, but also he's a hard worker. He runs a tight ship in terms of, you know, the production. But you couldn't meet a more generous spirited person. And so, you know, it was such a wonderful thing to come into a show that was a massive franchise. It was the Christmas special. It was a big part. But you had Russell and you had David Tennant. And David, again, likewise, is such a wonderful human being, a great spirit, really collaborative, wants you to be good. they're the things. And, you know, a bit like Andrew Lincoln on The Walking Dead, they're two leading actors who set the tone, and they set the bar very high, but they set the tone about how you go to work. You know, they're very professional, you can have a laugh with them, but they're always prepared. They're the first people on set, they're the last people to leave, they're kind to everybody, they're very they want a good working environment that is about everyone. Not just about the actors, but about the crew, everybody who works on that show. They want them to come to work happy and be happy. And David and Andy are just like that, and so is Russell, you know, and that's a great place to work in then. It's a place where you can be brave, where you can be vulnerable, where you can, you know, a place where you can make mistakes, although I don't believe in mistakes, but a place where you can sort of really go for something and then sort of experiment, and that's really important, you know. A place without fear.
Oh yeah, has anybody ever met Russell T Davies in the audience? Yeah, I interviewed him a few years back, and I found him, he's a huge guy, by the way. He stands in front of you, and his presence alone, he's 6'5", 6'6", he's a big man. Yeah. But he's this, I would say, a gentle giant, because he smiles as soon as he meets you, he's so humble, and he makes you feel comfortable. That's what I found from him. Yeah, he does, he makes you very comfortable. But also, you know, he's a serious person. You know, he's not frivolous. He's very sort of available to you. He's very friendly. He's very sort of, you know, he creates a wonderful working environment. He's very inclusive, but he's also, you know, he knows what he wants. He's very specific in his writing, and that's the thing I love about him, is that you know, you've got this roadmap of a script which is so great, and you feel such responsibility to do well for him, you know. Writing genius. Yeah, complete writing genius. Yeah. So we'll go to the governor now, and any Walking Dead fans out there, probably is, there always is. And again, becoming part of this franchise, it's established. What was that like, going onto a set like that? The narrative, the dynamic of the already tight-knit community that is, and obviously community, no pun there, but and you're going onto that set, what was that like? So that was very different. It was similar in one way, like I said about Andrew. It's a very well-run show. The main producer on it, when I was on it, was Gail Ann Hurd, who is, you know, she did Terminator, and she did, you know, she was married to James Cameron, you know, and Alien and all that, and she's just fantastic. I mean, she is a dream to work with. Big Arsenal fan for some reason, I don't know what happened there, but she's really, again, very professional. Physically couldn't be more different to Russell, you know. She's like this little lady from LA, but really tenacious, tough, but also wants the best out of you. You know, she runs a great set. So I loved her. Andy was great. But for me it was hard because it was in America, it was in Atlanta, it's hot, it's already a big established show. There's a lot of money behind it, as there is with Doctor Who, I guess. But also playing an American character, an iconic character. But I loved it, it was great. It was interesting because there's a lot of secrecy around the show. And even though it comes from a comic, when I was cast, the first couple of days filming, some footage got released or something, and people saw that I didn't have an eye patch. And they were really unhappy, and online people went crazy and was like, this isn't the governor. And then you do the San Diego Comic-Con, which is where they introduced me. And what was really weird was about 2 months before I did The Walking Dead, I'd been to see Oasis at Earl's Court, and it was a brilliant show. I mean, just great. And when I did this Comic-Con, they said, and ladies and gentlemen, here we have Andrew Lincoln. And 10,000 people just go crazy for him, applauding and screaming. And then they said, and here's Norman Reedus, same thing. People go, and they said, and here's the new actor playing the governor, David Morrissey, and they all booed. Like 10,000 people booing me. But because I've been to see Oasis and seen Liam
deal with the crowd. I just did what Liam did, which was basically, I walked to the front and I just went, come on. And then it went up, the whole place went up. It was screaming, shouting, and it was great. And then it was like, then I was accepted. And then they showed the trailer. And in the trailer, it starts with me with 2 eyes, and then you see me with one, with an eye patch. So as soon as I appeared on screen with the eye patch, they all went, whoa, what's going to happen? So that was the thing. So that was great. So eventually people accepted me. But I love doing the show. I really, I think it's a great show. And I really love my time on it. Really.
In San Diego Comic-Con, it's massive, isn't it? You don't realise how big that is. We think these are big in Liverpool and the Monopoly events, but San Diego
No,
is...
everyone leaves I mean, the thing I would compare San Diego Comic-Con to is like the Edinburgh Festival, which everyone who lives in Edinburgh leaves and rents their house while the festival's on. That's what the San Diego Comic-Con, everyone who lives in San Diego leaves and rents their house for the week. And it's massive. And it started with 2 people in a garage selling comics, and now it's this big industry thing. You don't have to see, Robert Downey Jr. announcing himself as the next Marvel character and people going crazy, I mean, it is, and they take it very seriously. But I love the atmosphere. That was great. It was really great. And then we did the New York one as well. So, yeah, and ours, because it's such a big show, we're in the main hall. There's like 20,000 people in there, so it's really great. I've had a couple of Beatles moments where afterwards I would be running for limos and jumping in the back and driving off. That was always great, people screaming at me. So all that's been very good.
Oh, I can only dream. Anyway, can we have some... you've got a dream, you've got to keep going if you dream, you are ambitious. Would you like any questions from the audience, our wonderful fans out here? This lady over here at the front first, maybe, yes.
My question is, how did it feel to work with Andrew and Norman in The Walking Dead?
So I already knew Andrew. We were mates. I'd known him for years. So I knew him in London. And when I was in LA for another reason. I was doing a job, and The Walking Dead rumour started. Somebody said to me they're interested in you for this Walking Dead, but they wouldn't tell me what character. So I phoned Andrew, and he told me. So I already knew him, and he's great. He's wonderful. I didn't know Norman, and also my character at first didn't have much to do with Daryl. It was only when he captures Daryl and takes him to Woodbury. And I knew Michael. I've been working with Michael Rooker, who's just batshit crazy, but in the most wonderful way. He's such a great guy. And then worked with Daryl. Daryl, Norman, just great guy, really wonderful person, and we got on really well. But then we went to a Comic-Con, not the San Diego Comic-Con. We went to somewhere like Dallas or Vegas or somewhere. And of course, we're all in a bubble when we're working. We're sort of in this sort of ranch, and we're all mates, and we're all eating together, all the crew are there. And then I get to Vegas or wherever with Daryl. We share a car from the airport to the hotel. I come out of the hotel. It's like being with Elvis. I mean, people were going crazy for him. And I was like, oh, you're famous. And I didn't realize that people looked at the Daryl Dixon character in that way, that people just adored him in that way. I knew they liked him, but I hadn't really cottoned on to the fact that he was this major person. And that was the thing. He's great though. He's like a really wonderful, wonderful man, and I miss them all. I miss them all a lot. I see Andrew a lot now. I see him in London. He's doing a play in London at the moment. But all of them are great. Laurie Holden and I got on really well. Michael Rooker and I just, and of course, sadly, we've lost Scott Wilson. But Scott Wilson and I used to do the cons together all the time. We used to do them We used to do our Q&As, we'd do our photographs together, you know, we'd hang out in LA together. He was a great, great man and sadly lost to us now, and a wonderful actor. So, you know, we all got on. It was a really good family. And that's the actors. I mean, I miss a lot of the crew. The crew are second to none as well. So, you know, it was a really important time in my life. Thanks for your question.
Hi David. So the question I've got for you is, if the governor was to join the Saviours, what do you think the most likely outcome would be? Do you think he would stay loyal to Negan, or do you think he might try and double-cross him in the end? Or try and take him down?
Well, I think he kicked Negan's ass. But, you know, of course I do. I think the way the governor would play it was he would play low status. It's slightly like what he did when he came back in season 4 and he was in that camp. I think he played very low status. He wouldn't cause a fuss. He'd stay back. He'd look very subservient. And then once he'd got Negan to trust him in some way, then he'd get him. He'd stab him in the back. He'd betray him. But I think he's clever. I think we've seen that in the show, that he's an intelligent person in the sense that he can play games. He doesn't mind playing low status. He's patient. He doesn't have to be that macho about stuff, and then he would take over. I think he'd be very good at doing that thing of dividing and rule in the group. I think he would be, you know, he'd be like the Jonathan Ross in Traitors. He'd be the person who'd sort of just drop something into someone's ear and say, what about him? He's not great, is he? You know, and then slightly create this theory of somebody else not being loyal or something, and then getting in there. He's a divide and rule person, but that's the way I think he'd manipulate it with Negan, and then kick his ass.
Have we got any questions on the other side? We'll have a couple more.
Hi David, just wondering, if you could be in any movie franchise or TV show that you haven't already been in, then what would you choose?
Well, being the age I am, I think the franchise I would have loved to have been in was Rocky. I just love Rocky. I love the Rocky movies. They went all over the place. Rocky 1 is Rocky 1 and 3 actually. They're just great movies. Rocky 2 is a great movie. So they're the things for me. Of the modern franchises in television, I mean, I think, you know, obviously I was a fan of Game of Thrones. I loved it. But there's lots of them. I mean, you know, for me it's, having been in The Walking Dead and Doctor Who, that's a good, not a bad record for things to tick off. The one thing I know about me is I'm not great at being the same character for a long time. So if I was in something of a TV show that was like The Walking Dead, 11 seasons, I don't think I'd be that happy to be like, Norman's very happy to do this and that's great, but I wouldn't be very happy to be from season 1 to season 11 playing the same character. That would bore the pants off me. So being in a franchise, I think I'd like to come in, do my stuff and get out. But you know, the other great franchise I'd love to do is Bond. I don't want to play Bond, but I'd love to be in a Bond film. I mean, I love that stuff. So yeah, they're the things for me.
Can you remember when Rocky 3 came out? I'm not far off your age, and youngsters there won't understand this, but this was at a time in '83 or so, when Rocky was fighting Drago, and he no spoilers, but he wins. The cinema actually cheered and stood. Yeah. Everybody went crazy. You don't get that in cinemas now. But that's what happened.
It was like a real. You could actually watching the fights now as well. They're so weirdly theatrical, and so they're like dance routines. They're not like Rage and Bull where you think, whoa. It's like it's like WWE wrestling, isn't it? It's like so wild. But yeah, I love those films. And I went to see Rocky 1 with my dad, and it was just unbelievable to see it, you know. And I couldn't believe, again, spoiler alert, how it ended, that you didn't get that big wonderful ending. It was something else, and it was just great.
It's not in cinemas now.
Yeah.
And the next question.
Hi David.
I can
Hello?
hear you.
Is that working? Oh yeah. So since you've been working with Russell T Davies again, from doing Doctor Who in the past, if he offered you the role of the Doctor, would you come back and do it?
I think I'd have to take anything that if Russell is making an offer, you have to take it seriously in any way. He's making it because he's thought it through. There's nothing, as I said before, there's nothing frivolous about it. So the thing for me is, if Russell said, "Look, I want you to do this," he would then follow it up with this idea of why he'd want me to do it, and what it would be about, how he'd want the character to change, or what David Morrissey would bring to that character. He would be full of that. And so I would consider it, because I don't think Russell in any way would make any sort of offer like that without having thought about it in a very long and detailed way, and I would listen to that. But also, I have to say, on Doctor Who and The Walking Dead, actually, I go back and make the tea. I loved it so much. I loved being associated with them. I loved being around them. It was such a wonderful group of people that, regardless of whether you're playing the lead or not, you sort of want to be in that world. So yeah, if you're being asked to be part of those shows, you want to be part of it.
One more question. We have time for one more. Who have we got? This gentleman down here, maybe? Or one of those up there? Take it.
Hello, David. If you could pick out of any other villain in The Walking Dead, who do you think the governor would get along with the most?
It's interesting in the villain tag, because the person I'd like, both as an actor but also character-wise, is Shane. And people talk about Shane as a villain, but actually he did terrible things, but they all do terrible things. I mean, if you started The Walking Dead following the governor's story and Andy entered it by episode, season 4, you'd think Andy was the baddie, not the governor. You know what I mean? It's because it's just the perspective of the narrative we're taking. Shane is his best mate. They think Andy's dead. They think Rick's dead. And him and his wife, Shane and Andy's wife get together. That's not, it wasn't like they were cheating on him. They didn't know they thought he was dead. And then it all goes a bit wild. I love that storyline. But I also think John Bernthal is an amazing actor. I think he's such a wonderful actor. And he's gone on to prove that. And so Stephen Yeun has gone on to prove that he's such an amazing actor outside of the show. So, I think, but I regretted missing Shane. Because when the rumour was on that I was going to be in the show, I went and watched it, obviously. And in those first 2 seasons, he's so great in that. And I loved his character. So I guess Shane would be someone I would have liked to have worked with.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'll sure you appreciate David coming up here and spending his time with us.
Thank you very much. See you at my table.
David Morrissey.
Bye.